G'day, legends, and welcome to the Pot Noodle. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me, as usual, is Liam. How are you going, Liam?
I'm all right, mate. As good as one can be on the first day back at work after the holidays. But yeah, things are okay.
Don't worry, don't remind me, mate. I'm there in 2 days' time. I'm there on Wednesday,
Oh,
so I've got tomorrow, and then it's back to work. Yeah, happy days, mate. We'll get into the pod. We'll talk Celtic, and yeah, have a bit of a chit chat about the latest, random shenanigans that are happening over with our amazing football club, the mighty Glasgow Celtic. Well, there's been 2 games since we were on here last. We had the Glasgow Derby. We could have a really quick little rattle through that. Then we'll talk about the St Mirren game, and then we've got a few other things to round out the pod. So, what we'll do, Liam, with the Glasgow Derby, how do you want to tackle this? Do you want to just have a
well,
general chat, or do you want to do the usual bit by bit, first half, second half, goals, all the other crap? Because I'm happy either way.
look, it was a scalping. We didn't turn up. I don't really think we need to examine it in forensic detail. Two things I'll say on it, and that's all. First of all, I did get some abuse from some Huns online because when I was asked last week on another show, Axom, about my prediction for the game, I did an absolutely awful Mr. T impression and I said pain. But in fairness, I didn't say who for, and that was a very very painful watch. So I'm calling that I think I called that correctly. Um, and the other thing is, I think that maybe the best way to deal with a game like that is to take the Jeremy Clarkson approach. You know. Oh no. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, so for me, I just had a couple of things I wanted to touch on. So, not talking about the actual performance, the players, all that stuff, right? Because for me, that's just been there, done that. All the Celtic pods out there, it's been done to death, right? Been there, done that. We've all got the t-shirt, whatever. So, before I go on, Celtic Down Under t-shirts available at celticdownunder.com. There you go. Cheap plug. Had to throw it in there. Um, but yeah, we've got what I was looking at is I thought there was a I more want to focus on the aftermath of it rather than the actual game because there was a few things and one of them ties into Brendan losing his rag in the presser, which we'll talk about after the St Mirren game, which we'll talk about later on in the show. But like the reactions from the Celtic fan base post match. So I saw I'm trying to wait for this YouTube 5 minute thing so I can actually let rip and use the exact quotes. So I'll try and use some roundabout wording. So there was people saying that some of the players were not up to the standard of a Celtic player. There was others saying that there were some players should never wear the hoops again. There was others saying that we shat it. Yeah, that's my workaround. There was other players, people on there saying that we weren't that far off it. The only one I completely think was wrong is the one who said that we weren't far off it. We were not there. We didn't look like we came to play, and some of that other stuff, like certain players are not up to standard, others shouldn't wear the hoops again. I just want to know, Liam, was that warranted?
um, Look, these games do bring out the best in us when we win and the worst in us when we lose, right? And that applies to fans of both teams. So I don't I don't think anybody should be like hounded out the club for that one game. Okay. Um, the other thing is that you know I think the best way to look at it is see if you're a Celtic supporter, that is in Scotland anyway. That's as bad as it's going to get. Realistically, from here on out, that is the worst experience we're going to have. An occasional scalping off the Huns, right? That is the worst we're going to have. Whereas for them, that is as good as it's going to get, right? An occasional, and I say occasional, win over Celtic when we have an off day. The odd cup here and there, maybe even one or two. mind we have a total shit the bed season like we did in 2020. We're past 5 minutes, don't worry. Um, and the other thing, but that's my underlying point is the if there's a Venn diagram of the Scottish League, it's Celtic's total dominance, and that was like a minor momentary dip, which lasted just over 50 hours.
Yeah, that's what I set you up for there, Liam, because I knew that's the convo you were going to have. We had something similar in our group chat. But
Mm,
for me, yeah, some people, they put up stuff and it doesn't matter how much, what you say, if it's relevant, if it's correct, whatever, it's people are emotional. We all
yeah.
put a lot into this club. We all live and breathe it. We're on the other side of the world. So we're not in the Glasgow bubble where we have to go to work the next day and deal with those people. But at the same time, it still means something to all of us. So I have to base it on not what I'm seeing in the office or around the streets because I'm not there, but what I'm seeing online, what I'm seeing within certain communities and stuff like that. And it's just, yeah, I look at it and go, there's some players, like I wouldn't even give a single player a pass mark in the derby.
No.
I've heard some people say Carter Vickers would. I wouldn't even do that. I think every player had their colours lowered that day on what they're used to. But as you can say, a week in football is a long time. 3 days is, as Mickey Moynihan's saying here, a lot can happen in 3 days in football, and 100%. And as you're saying, Liam, the smell of the glove has got it here. G'day, natural orders. Exactly. Everything's on the natural order of things. So they had their cup final against us. We won that. They then dropped points twice. Then we have this result. They get their win, as you're saying, Liam. It's the best they can expect. It's probably the worst for us we can expect. And then, bang, here we go. You going to say something, Liam?
I was just going to say that the ultimately, seeing about maybe 6 months or even like 3 or 4 months time, nobody's going to remember that game, right? Because we'll have won the league and it won't matter. Think about this, right? When Celtic's, you could argue that Celtic's real dominance of Scottish football first started under Martin O'Neill. That was when we started like consistently winning titles again, right? And maybe the first real emergence of that was the 6-2 game. I look back on that now as one of my favourite ever Celtic games, right? Beating the Huns 6-2. People forget we get gubbed 5-1 at Ibrox the next time we played them. And we forget that because ultimately that result was completely meaningless in the context of that season because we ended up winning the league at a canter anyway. And this season will be the same. Nobody apart from your most die-hard, embittered, clutching at more straws than a scarecrow having a wank Hun is going to remember that.
And yeah, on that, Liam, it's spot on. Like for them, they play us, 4 times a year? That's 12 points. But they're already 13 behind. So even if they won all of them for the whole season, they're still a point behind. And we've got a ridiculous goal difference. So
And that's assuming they win every other game, which they won't.
no, I'm saying, no. Forget that, Liam. I'm not even saying from now. I'm saying over the course of the whole season, if they had beaten us at home early on in the season,
Yeah.
and then they won this one, and then they win the next 2 derbies, they've won all 12 of those. They'd won all 12 of those available points. Well, they're still 13 behind. Okay, so you take 3 off because they would have got that win in the other one, so it brings it back down to 9. Sorry, back down to 10. But it's there or thereabouts. Like I just think it's ridiculous if you look at it that way. Even if they won the other 2, it's still coming up. They're still miles off us because of our goal difference as well. So yeah, it's just an absolute. I find it funny, but yeah, to what I was saying about the thing, like as McLaughlin's saying here, some of our support are a disgrace. I'm not. And then the amount of times I see someone put up a post up and they're attacked verbally is unreal. Like, I'm going to go on a little tangent here. I saw this, and Laura Bradburn, she copped so much shit online. Doesn't matter when she was on Axom, when she did her own pod, when she's joined, what is it, Huddle Breakdown. Anytime she puts anything up, you look at the comments and it's like 80 to 90% people just giving her shit flat out. And then the last 10% is people agreeing with her or giving her a pat on the back saying, don't worry about the comments, Laura, blah, blah, blah. So going into the derby, when Butland ended up out because he injured his leg and ended up hospitalised because it could have potentially turned into a blood clot, she commented saying, oh, I wish him well because you don't want anyone to go through that. You're over here where I'm in Australia, okay?
Mm.
I have no problem with that because I'm not in that bubble. But she copped so much shit, it was disgusting. So I'm just using that as an example. Like,
Mm.
you can have other people have a hot take or have a comment or whatever. I just think sometimes, yeah, the toxicity, not just within Scottish football in general, is shocking. And social media, a lot of people say stuff on there they wouldn't say to your face.
No, no. No, and listen, I've done podcasts with Laura before. We did a World Cup series a couple of years ago, and she really knows her football, not just Celtic. She does her research and she really knows her stuff. And yeah, the amount of abuse that she personally gets just for having the audacity to be a woman with an opinion, it really is. It's totally disgraceful, and it's sad how much of it does come from other Celtic fans sometimes. Um, but I think that's where you just need to kind of say, look, just because you're a Celtic fan doesn't mean you're not an arsehole, right? I mean, you still have that propensity to be an arsehole regardless of who you support. So just don't be an arsehole. That's the moral of the story. Just be kind, right? It doesn't cost anything to just listen to people and just be decent about it. And you can disagree, right? I was saying this on Axom last week. We were talking about this, and I says, look, people will disagree with what I say, and it's the same on here. People might say, "Oh, Liam, you're talking pish, whatever," right? But you know what? I'm happy to have a discussion with anybody who thinks I'm wrong and tell me why I'm wrong, and maybe I'll learn something. Maybe you'll learn something. But see if you just come on and just start, look at the state of that fat baldy, whatever. We're not going to get anywhere, right? The conversation is not going to move forward. I'm just going to think you're a dick. You're going to think I'm a dick, and nobody progresses. So it's better to just have a decent discourse. But that does make it hard. But results like last week do make it hard because emotions are running high. I get it, right? But like I said, those are the rarity. Well, back in the 90s, that was the norm. Now it is an outlier. That is not going to happen regularly. So let's just write it off as a bad day at the office and move on, I think.
What are we, Liam? The last of them, the last of the Mohicans, sort of thing, like the last of a dying breed of actually consistently losing to the Huns. Like
Aye.
we grew up on that. Then it was like a 50-50 sort of thing, and now it's just if they win one, it's like hell's frozen over and stuff like that the majority of the time. So it's yeah, it's ridiculous. But what I'll do is I'll bring up some comments here. Smell the Glove is saying, I'm treating the game as a great wake up call for the young boys game. I hate it
Exactly.
when we go in totally overconfident. About that, the most important game in the month of January is the young boys game, let's be honest. It wasn't that derby. It was we get the 3 points against young boys. We're through to the knockouts in the Champions League.
Hmm.
So that's progress for us in Europe. So that's actually the most important game this month. Like, as we said, we dropped the points in this game. We've already made up all but one of them because they dropped points yesterday and we won. So it's one of those things where the key game is the young boys game. So let's get everything up to speed there. As Mickey Moynihan's saying, we've got to take our medicine and learn from it. We got a couple of points and 3 goals back yesterday.
Yeah.
McLaughlin saying all the defeated Ibrox has done is prevent a 19-point gap.
Yeah.
RL77, blips happen.
Hmm.
Smell the Glove is saying we're going to lose a Huns game at some point. Rather it be at Ibrox when points ahead rather than lose a cup final or a home game at Paradise.
Yeah.
Get them back
Excellent.
in March. And then just go through here. Mahesh Celtic will lose to Rangers in the next game unless Rodgers changes tactics. Clement tactics highlighting Celtic and Rodgers' weakness in midfield play and tactics. That loss was coming.
I mean, I suppose we did kind of get out of jail in the cup finals, so yeah, Mahesh does have a point there.
The thing is as well, like, they had a trial run at those tactics in the cup final. It almost worked for them. We didn't change anything. They came in, even though they were down a few, I'm like, well, if we stick to it and we target and press the right-hand side of the Celtic backline, so they have to, recycle the ball or horseshoe it around to the left and then go and let those guys get themselves into trouble. And then they were able to hold off. And that's exactly what they did, win that ball and hit them on the counter. So they had a basically a dress rehearsal for it. It worked for them. Well done. You got 3 points. Move on. But
yeah, ultimately, all they've done is meant we're going to win the league a week later.
Yep.
That's the ultimate consequence of it.
Big Dom saying Rangers' victory on the second was like winning the bingo on the Titanic. Nice one, mate. Nice one. Smell the glove is saying Haley's comment and a Huns derby win. Which one do you see more often? And McLaughlin is saying law of averages, isn't it? Took them 3.5 years to win a meaningful game.
Even then, it was barely a meaningful game.
And then we can clinch this title before the split. It's going to happen.
Aye.
And then when that happens, I will name a podcast. Split happens, just for you, McLaughlin.
Yes. And you know what we should do? See if we do win the league before the split. Assuming that they finish in the top 6, right? For the final derby of the season when we go to Ibrox, we should just field a reserve team. Just play the youth team. Just be like, it doesn't matter. You are nothing. You are meaningless.
Play the B team, and then in the Lowland League, just play the under-16s or whatever for a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the only other thing I wanted to ask you, Liam, about the derby, and somehow we've managed to go for so long on it. Good fun. But was Brendan really outcoached, or did he take one for the team here so that Baltimore gets to keep his job for the rest of the season? So was he playing the battle here? So I just think that's a silver lining for you if there is one. At least we know he's going to be there the rest of the year, and they're going to drop points like they did at Hibs. So yeah, good fun.
He would have been here for the rest of the year regardless, because we know they can't afford to sack him, right? We know that.
Yep.
And the other thing is, it is the proverbial rocket up the backside that the board need to make sure they spend appropriately in January. Because we're in a good place now, but we do need strengthening, because the one thing that game really showed was an inability to adapt our tactics to a difficult situation. That, give the Huns their credit. They did do their homework, albeit it was probably written in crayon and lots of spelling mistakes. But they did do their homework, right? And they knew how to play us, and we didn't adapt. So that is on us, and that is where we have to strengthen in January to give the team that ability to be a bit more dynamic.
So Heavy Vibes has said they spent weeks saving players for a game against us. Well done, Rangers. Pity there's other teams in the league, i.e. Motherwell, Hibs, St Mirren, etc. Henrik McGlasson would love to see Sinisalo. Yeah, me too. I want to see what we've got there. I was talking to an Aston Villa fan the other day, and yeah, he was pretty high on him as well. They were watching him when he was out on loan last year.
Says a lot that he still gets called up by Finland, even though he hasn't had a minute of Celtic game time yet.
Maybe they don't have any other keepers.
I don't know. But I just think the fact that he still gets a call up shows that their FA still rate him highly regardless.
I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Something Finnbogason we had. It was like a young striker from Iceland years ago, right?
Yeah.
And he was the same. Never anywhere near the Celtic first team, but was always getting called up to the Icelandish national team.
Aye, and Iceland were actually quite decent back then, from what I remember.
Yeah, they had like 2 decent strikers, and there was no one else. So he was like their third stringer that they'd always call him up and just have him on the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just going through some of the comments about the derby here for you. So RL77 saying should concede the last game at Ibrox due to safety concerns, force some action. Actually, a good idea. Take the 3-0, forfeit it and be like, stuff you guys, you get nothing.
You know, I thought we should have done that last week when Engels got hit with the coin. We're 3-0
Sure
down
walked
anyway.
off.
Take the players off the pitch. Safety. Yeah.
Yep. How dumb is that too? Like, the coin gets thrown, hits Engels, gets picked up by the linesman, gets given to the ref, that then gets given to the fourth official, that then goes to the police into the evidence bag. How many sets of prints did they want to put on that? That was
Yeah, I was going to
ridiculous.
say
Nothing can come from it.
it's been handled more times than, well, you can make your own metaphor there, but
I've got one for you, Liam. Here, it
yeah.
was handled more time than the bottle of baby oil at a Diddy party.
There you go. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
It
Aye.
wasn't you for once.
Aye. Yeah. Diddy was offered the Rangers job, but he says no. He's got his reputation to think about. Um.
Yeah.
So that's an old one. But no, the as I said, like it's really sad that they're 3-0 up. They're getting their first victory over Celtic for quite a while, and yet the first thing that enters that mutant's head is, I'm going to throw a coin at a Fenian. It's fucking pathetic.
Someone did it at the bench too.
Yeah.
Enjoy your win. Go home, smash more Bucky, whatever. Don't.
Smash Bucky, smash your sister, smash your family pet, do whatever. Just, don't throw coins.
Couple more comments here. So John Clements is saying it wasn't the defeat that hurt, it was the abject performance that really hurt. Brendan at fault, totally. It was Dortmund-type tactics. Henrik McLarson is galling we didn't score against them. McLaughlin's like, it was the lack of effort that pissed me off.
Yeah.
It was, you know what it was for me? It was that along with a combination of waking up 1:45 in the morning, put the game on, watch it to get that steaming pile of shit.
Aye, it was midnight here, and I could probably been better off just going to bed that night and getting a couple of hours extra sleep.
Well, that's what I did last night. Got up for the game, turned it on, Celtic TV went to absolute rubbish. I was like, I'm going back to bed. But we'll talk about that a bit later. So Big Dom was like, if you're going to lose to Rangers, lose when the transfer window's just opened.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm just going through here. Michael McDonald is saying, Engels, who was ill. I wonder if some more of the squad were suffering too. Good point.
That the kind of, how should I say it, the sort of the lethargy that was going through that entire team would suggest an illness of some kind. I mean, even Dyson didn't look right, and even when we're having a bad game, you can usually depend on him to be pacey at least, and he just didn't have that. Whether it was fatigue or illness, there was definitely something not right about the entire team last week.
Yep. Pork Chop Express is saying Thursday's game only showed that minnows can beat the big boys now and again.
Exactly. Yep. Spot on.
Yeah. So I'll just go through. Smell the gloves saying a bad illness went through the squad after a few of them went to the darts. Why Trust hadn't got any minutes until yesterday. Yeah, so and Andrew's doing this. So what we'll do, I was going to talk about this a little later on, but I'd like to see Johnny Kenny given an opportunity. So we'll talk about that before we talk about the St Mirren game. So Johnny Kenny has returned from his loan at Shamrock Rovers. So we're talking, I think it was last week or the week before, that we need like that third striker. Would you bring in a third striker? Because it's hard to recruit for, because you got to tell someone you got 1A and 1B as your starters in Eder and Kyogo. And then you've got third string. Or do you bring in someone to challenge Maida for the left so he can be the third striker? Johnny Kenny is the other option. So what we're looking at is Willie's did a little bit of research for us, right? And in the UEFA Conference League, he was at Shamrock Rovers, who finished 10th in that, all right?
Yeah.
So what he's done in the last season is he played 29 games, 13 goals, 2 assists, 5 yellow cards. In Europe, Champions League qualifiers was 3 matches and 2 goals. And then it was so he had 6 games for 5 goals in the Conference League as well. So all up, looks like he's been some decent form for Shamrock Rovers. Would it be worth Liam giving him a crack at that third striker role, or do you think he's going to be pushed back out again on loan or sold?
I mean, if we're not going to give him a run in the squad now, then we should just sell him. The decision should be made this month because, like you say, he showed that he can do it at European level. He he's consistently playing well in the Irish League, although that is admittedly a lower level than Scotland. But still, you can only play what's in front of you, and he's doing it well. And he's proven that he deserves a shot, and it's either give him the shot now or punt him because it's not fair to him either way.
Yep, I'd agree with you 100% there, Liam.
Mm.
I'd like to see him get given a shot. What's the worst that can happen? Like, if you're playing against St Mirren yesterday, you're 3-0 up, put him on for the last 20 minutes. It's not going to do it's not going to make anything worse. You got Kyogo who's we're playing how many games in how much time, rather than, you're going to talk to their sports scientists. Should we put Kyogo on for the last 25, half an hour? Or should we put Johnny Kenny on? Keep the sports scientists happy, keep Kyogo fresh. He'll probably be banging down Brendan's door going, "Oh, why aren't I playing?" But who cares?
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
it's an interesting one. So what we want to do is, I'm just going to grab a few of the comments about this. So Shop Express is saying it's good to see Trusty off the mark. Hopefully drive him on now. Smell the Gloves saying Kyogo and Ida playing pish, so why not give Kenny a go? Pork Chop Express is saying, I think Kenny will go back to Rovers for the rest of the season after a wee look at him in training. He'll get a crack in the summer.
yeah. I mean that could work as well. Yeah, definitely.
And then McLaughlin saying, I don't see why we can't give half an hour on Wednesday if it's 2-3-0. The thing is as well with that, where we need to be careful is if we want to loan him out for the second half of the season, he's either going, if we play him in that one game, then he can only go back to Shamrock Rovers because it's the calendar year of the seasons, right? You only play for 2 clubs.
Yeah,
So if he plays for us, having already played for Shamrock Rovers, then he capped. He can't play anywhere else other than those 2 clubs. If we don't play him, says we got to make the decision. What do we want to do? Do we want to keep him around here? If we do, play him. If we don't, keep that availability for him so we can send him back to Shamrock Rovers or we can send him somewhere else.
One question on that though, which I'm not sure about. Does the League of Ireland have the same calendar as Scotland? Because I'm thinking some in the back of my head, it's more like the J League, where like they start in spring and finish in winter.
What confederation are they part of?
UEFA. So
There you go. Because it's the
all right.
same when we buy players from Norway.
Hmm.
Like remember Lustig, when we got him from Rosenborg all that time ago?
Yeah.
We got him in January. But the thing was, if we had have signed him 6 months earlier, because he'd been elsewhere or something like that within a certain time frame, it wouldn't have worked. I
Yeah.
remember that at the time. I can't remember the exact ins and outs. I'd have to look it up. But yeah. So it's about the confederation. If you're over in Japan
Hmm.
playing in the Asian calendar, which is usually calendar years, and
Hmm.
then you come over to Europe and it's, July to June, that's your workaround basically.
Hmm.
You could probably challenge it anyway.
Yeah, I'm just seeing in the comments there. I think a couple of the guys are saying that it finishes in November, which would be the same calendar as the J League. That's what I thought, because I'm
Yeah.
sure I remember watching an Irish League game on TV in like June or July. So, um, yeah,
So that'd be a bit of an issue for him. Starts in March, then he's basically got 2 months of inactivity before that.
Although Shamrock Rovers would still have Conference League games,
Yeah,
so they would still have competitive football, but just not as much. Yeah, and if they're going to do any damage in that tournament, they're going to need him back because he is their best player. So
yep. Got one here for you, Liam. Andrew Galea saying Kyogo either plays out his days at Celtic or we sell him now or at the end of the season. What are your thoughts on that?
um, I don't think he would play out his days at Celtic. I think he would play out his top flight career at Celtic because what would happen is when he's like 32 or 33, he'd go back to Japan and probably play for another 5 years. Um, that's what That's what Nakamura did. That's what Shinji Ono did. That's what a lot of the great Japanese players do. Is like they go back home and they play. It's still a decent level in the J League, but maybe they don't start every game, but they're there to kind of bring on the young players, and it's almost like a kind of a rite of passage for them. They played well in the J League at the start. They got that move to Europe, made their money, made their reputation. I think he would probably go back to Vissel Kobe when he's about 32, 33, and play there
That's
for
what I
another
think.
few seasons.
That's what I think. A lot of the Japanese players as well. They'll go to Europe. They'll come back. They'll play 1 or 2 years in the J League, and then they'll drop back to the second tier and be that experienced guy to help bring through the young guys. See that a
Yeah,
lot too.
yeah. I mean, that is basically what Shinsuke Nakamura did. He was playing. I think he finished up at Jubilo Iwata, who were second tier at the time. Um, so yeah, he was at FC. He was at Yokohama Marinos. Then he was at FC Yokohama. Then he was at Iwata. And again, just gradually stepping down in grade as he got older. And he played until he was like 42 or 43 or something. So,
Yeah. Who's the guy who's still running around in his 50s?
oh, Kazu Miura.
Yeah.
He's playing in like the Portuguese third division now or something. It's something weird.
He's just doing it because why not? It's like an ongoing joke.
Now, he said he wants to play till he's 60. He's like a business. He said a businessman can retire when he's 60, so why can't I? That was his exact philosophy. So good
And
luck to him.
the funny thing is, there'll be clubs out there who will do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So let's talk about the St Mirren game. So I'll grab the phone, get the starting lineup up. Just bear with me a moment. So yeah, we had the lineup of Casper in goals, Alistair Johnson, Carter Vickers, Trusty, and Taylor. Midfield three of Callum McGregor, Anna Engels, and Luke McCowan. Up front was Adam Eder with Dazen on the left and Kun on the right. So, as I said early on, Celtic TV, no good. Back to bed for me. So I've only really seen the highlights. So I'm going to rely on you, Liam. So give us a bit of a chat about the game, and then
Well,
we'll go through the goals.
I'm afraid that all I have to go on is the 5 minutes of YouTube highlights that I literally watched just before we started the show. So
That's all right.
uh, yeah, a bit awkward. But good performance. I thought that the goals were well taken. Good for Trusty to open his account. Um, and also I really liked Kuhn's second goal. The the confidence for that flicked in cross from McGregor, the arrogance of the back heel from Engels, and then the confidence of Kuhn just to sidestep the defender. Because a lesser player would just have smashed that, and it might still have gone in the net. But Kuhn had the coolness to sort of sidestep and then just slot it in. It was absolutely beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it was bloody good. And the thing as well, Liam, like what I liked as well was his other goal, seeing the number 10 running through the number 10 spot in the middle of the park. Like,
Mm.
yeah, it was good. Like, I really enjoyed it. Um, RL77 is saying St Mirren game was frustrating. We didn't vary it and try and go through the middle more often. Eder was making the runs, but the ball would go out to the wings. That sounds familiar. Kyogo does the same thing. So it looks like it's a system issue, not a operator error. Here you go. Here's a bit of IT speak for you.
Yeah, no, I think that's. But again, that just speaks to what we were talking about, the inability to adapt our game. We've got a good way of playing, but it is quite one dimensional at the moment.
I would say robotic would be my way. It's like
Mm.
if we try one way on one side of the field and it doesn't work, pass it back, horseshoe it across the other, try on the other side. If that doesn't work, back, around we go again. And it's just drives me insane. And there it is, Andrew in the comments, the old horseshoe system. Yeah. Remember Brendan's first run at the club? By year 3, everyone had him figured out. Well,
Yeah.
we're halfway through, second season, and teams are starting to figure that out. The thing for me,
Still,
what I
the,
find frustrating,
the horseshoe system is better than Rangers, where we've got the horse's arse system. But anyway, moving on. Sorry,
nah,
what
all
you were
good.
saying.
Nothing special to talk about there. I was going to say, like, is that like what I said after the derby, and I'll stick with it after yesterday's game is I wish we would play a bit quicker. I think we play way too slow, and that's the issue at the moment. Like, I'm not necessarily saying we have to press like madmen and style, right? But
Mm.
the fact of the matter is we are very slow. We get the ball, we take a touch to control it, then we take one or two other things, then we pass it. And we weren't playing, as Maestro 95 saying, we weren't playing that way earlier in the season. Early in the
No.
season, we had the combination that I'm about to talk about.
Mm.
We had our defensive structure. If we reversed it or the horseshoe, we do it once, but then it was one touch football. It's like ball comes in, guys make their forward run, bang, make the pass forward, and then pass and move, pass and move. We've
Yeah.
stopped doing that. You see in the derby, right before their first goal, Scales has got the ball. He looks up. Callum McGregor's a metre away from him, 2 guys there. The next guy up, I think it's Atade, has got 2 guys on him. You can't switch the ball across to Carter Vickers or across because there's a defender on him. You can't go across to Johnson because everyone will cut it off. And then there's Greg Taylor on the sideline pointing back at
Yeah.
saying, just pass it back, just pass it back. He's unmarked. Like, I think it's a combination of our players have. I'm not necessarily going to put the players under it, but it's a combination of everything. I just think we're playing too slow and the freedom and the let's go. And if we make a mistake, win it back. That's what we're missing.
Mm. Aye, there definitely needs to be some tweaks made, and this is this is where it's on Brendan to show that he's not a one-trick pony. I think he's an excellent manager, but he needs to show that the team can evolve and that his managerial style can evolve. Because, like you said, we're at the point now where last time around people had started to suss him out, and it's come a wee bit earlier this time. But at the end of the day, it's we're still winning games because we have the class to do that most of the time. But we want to make sure that we are, you know, winning every game if we can.
Yep, 100%, mate. So yeah, I'm just going to go through like a couple of the comments here. So McLaughlin saying we need a midfield genius in there that can unlock a defence and score 15 to 20. The issue with that is we need to have someone in there that can actually keep the ball, receive the
Yeah,
ball, quick passes, and move the ball and get into pockets of space. And actually, if they're open, present for it. That's the first step because we're not doing that in the middle. Michael McDonald is saying, I wish some of our fan media would listen to Brendan and stop with players being dropped. It's all about rotation. That's not coming from this podcast because we keep constantly say it's a squad game.
yep, yep. And ultimately, anyone who says that a player is dropped, anybody, be it a journalist, fan media, anybody, or some random comment on Facebook, whatever, that is speculation because the manager is not going to tell you. He'll tell you if a player's injured, but he won't tell you if a player gets dropped. So this is every time you hear that word dropped, just remember that's speculation. It's not a statement of fact, no matter who is saying it, unless it's Brendan Rodgers, but he would never say that.
Unless it's the man in Japan hearing something in the Japanese media too. Yeah, so it's you basically got the Hendrik McLaughlin saying it was definitely a bit of a dent to his ego, with it all, and then Pork Chop saying, I watched a couple of Ange Celtic games yesterday and all the players looked forward first for the pass. We pass it back too much nowadays. We've got to be braver. Exactly, mate. That's
Mm,
exactly it. Remember
yeah,
that one where you hear Ange screaming at someone, fucking pass it forward from the
yeah,
sideline when the whole stadium went quiet? Where's that?
aye,
Get the
aye,
ball and have a look up as the ball's about to come to you. Look up, see where your options are. So it's like, okay, Kun's making that run, Kyogo's making that run. Ball come here. Defense is here to cover Kun. I'm going to Kyogo. So as soon as you get the ball, bang, move it on, and then present and go again. The speed of play. We were fit enough. We're able to do it. Why have we stopped? Let's just pass it backwards. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not enjoying getting up at 2 in the morning to watch recycled horseshoe football,
no,
but I have
no,
to do it because Celtic TV, which is one of the next topics, is absolute rubbish and takes forever to upload the replays. So I can't like do a media blackout anymore. Wake up and put the game on first thing in the morning because it's not there for 24 hours at least after a game.
I really don't understand that because that should be automatic, right? I mean, I've got into doing YouTube during the Christmas holidays, right? That's my wee project now. I've got my own channel that I'm playing games on. But if you line up something for like a premiere on YouTube, it streams the thing live, and then like as soon as it's finished, it's automatically there to view it again.
That's what happens
Why,
with this
if
exact.
YouTube can do that automatically, why the hell can't Celtic TV, something that I'm actually paying for? You know?
That's exactly what happens with these episodes, Liam. Like we're live right now. As soon
Yeah,
as I hit end broadcast, it'll go through about a 30-second saving it in the system, and then it's live.
yeah,
Then the video's there, so anyone can jump on and watch it.
yeah.
And I, my actual note on our run sheet, and we'll come back to the Brendan Rodgers press conference in a second, right?
Mm.
But my note on our thing was, why is Celtic TV a steaming pile of dog shit? Seriously, it's a pathetic service. And the thing on that, what frustrates me is just in case anyone hasn't seen it, this is what you got during the game.
Yeah.
Okay, I know it was a power outage, but then once the power outage was fixed, that's what you got.
Christ, it's like a Union Bears tifo.
Exactly. So if you put that together, either you got no service, and then you have the other one where you can't even make out what's what. It's the blue squiggles versus the white dots. Can't see what players what, can't even see the ball. Like, how are you supposed to figure out what the hell's going on, especially at 2 in the morning when you got bleary eyed and half asleep? Like, it's not ideal. And like realistically, you go through that. You're paying a premium service. Like for us over here, you're paying monthly, what, $50 a month, something like that for it.
Hmm.
So it's like $600 over the season. It's for that money, you're pretty much looking at a season ticket over there. So we're paying the equivalent of a season ticket to be able to sit on our couches, watch the game, and you get match replays. Don't get uploaded for 24 hours minimum. There was a game a couple of weeks back that took 3 days to come up. They put the first half up, and then you didn't get the second half uploaded until 3 days later.
Yeah.
How am I
It's
supposed to do a podcast or watch that game? You want to watch it. By the time it's uploaded, you already know the result. All the talks happen, and there's a game again tomorrow. So it's ridiculous. So a
it
club
needs
like
attention.
Celtic, they talk about wanting to be a big club, and a club like no other. Well, fucking fix it.
I mean, it's not just Celtic TV. It runs through the entire operation because Celtic, for as long as I can remember, have always had this mentality of it's not about providing the best service, it's about providing the cheapest service that you can get away with, right? I mean, right, this jersey I'm wearing now, right? I ordered this as a Christmas present to myself. I thought, be good to yourself. I ordered this on the 14th of December. So I thought, That's still, a couple of weeks. It might not get here by Christmas Day, but 2 weeks. It should get here around about New Year. It finally arrived yesterday. So, that's what, 3.5 weeks after I ordered it, and it's supposed to be delivered within 10 days, according to their website.
Yeah.
It's not on. And the thing is that they know that dafties like me will keep buying it because we're fans. It's what we do. But it's just ridiculous, honest to God.
They take us for granted. And then you have a look at situations like yesterday's game where there was probably about 15, 20,000 empty seats. Now, I know the weather's not great. People are
Mm,
busy this time of the year, but the club won't even put together a resale your ticket sort of thing. You've got
no.
how many people on a waiting list? How many of them would have been like, yeah, okay, I'll buy a ticket, and then someone else gets a couple of dollars back off their season book for next season? Little things like that can take the club to the next level. Get your Celtic TV right. Because as we've spoken about previously, if you have Celtic TV, so that for the men's team, you have the women's games on there, you have the B team on there, then you can have little sit down interviews with old mate Jerry McCulloch talking to, oh, this player, or you can have on this day 30-minute doco sort of thing that you can put up and you just keep them and play them. Or you can put historical games on there. They're all on YouTube anyway. Upload them, chuck them on there. I'd happily keep paying for it, knowing that I'm going to be able to. If I was coming into this room here and I'm bored, and I'm like, yeah, I got the choice between Netflix or Celtic TV. I can go watch a game that Henrik Larsson goes and scores a hat trick in. I'm going to chuck that on.
Yeah.
Love watching old games. So there's an opportunity there where Celtic could really spend a bit of money, make more money, sell, and then they could even sell it as, okay, you're an international member instead of being just a Celtic TV thing. Sell it as a international member. So you're not a season ticket holder, but you're a member at the club. You're paying you pay $700 or $750 a year. You get your Celtic TV covered. You get a member's scarf. You get a discount online at the Celtic Superstore, which we all spend enough anyway.
Mm,
So if you get 5-10% back or whatever, that's what I get from my A-League club over here, Melbourne Victory. I get 10% off at the sports store. So if I jump online and I want to buy the top or buy anything, I just put in my member number, gives me the 10% discount. Little things like that. And what makes you, and what they don't realize is we're going to spend that money anyway. So if we do it through the club, the money comes into the club, they make more in the long term. But, they're not that clever.
Meanwhile, you're getting a 10% discount. I had to pay a 10% tax on my stuff because Celtic didn't bother to put a tax receipt in the invoice.
There you go.
Here's your £200 order. By the way, you've got to pay 20 quid or we're repoing it. I mean, bloody hell.
Yeah, so the club's basically not run as great as it could, in my opinion, overseas. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, last thing quickly, I'm going to go through some of the comments here and then we'll get on to the thing. So we're talking about Brendan in the press conference before, right?
Hmm.
So I'm just going to scroll through, see what we've got here. See if there's anything there. Yeah, not a great deal on that front. But yeah, just with that, I just think it's one of them ones where what Brendan said, if you take the emotion out of it and what he actually said, particularly the Greg Taylor, Kieran Tierney chant situation thing, I can
Hmm.
understand his point of view, but that's a club hero for a lot of the young fans in the Green Brigade in the stand. The guy used to hold the megaphone.
Hmm.
Whoever has come in since Tierney left is cop shit. Whether it was Burnaby, whether it was Bolingoli, whether it was Taylor, they're never that standard, right? So of course he's going to be a hero and people are going to chant for Tierney, especially if he's linked to us. And you got Fabrizio Romano out there saying, "Oh, here we go," blah blah blah.
Hmm.
People are going to get excited. And then Greg Taylor is chopping and changing. And does he want to go? Does he want to stay? And then Rogers has got a bit of frustration from the Derby result. And you put all that together and it suddenly just, bang, just explodes. He took the
Hmm.
bait from the media and, yeah, you get some silly headlines, but he's better than that.
Yeah, just on a wee side issue there, I'd be very wary of what Fabrizio Romano says. I don't trust anybody who calls himself a journalist but spends that much time creating news as opposed to writing it. Um, so yeah, just look, it's online. Do your own research, but that guy has got some shady stuff going on in the background, and he's not to be trusted. Um, but anyway, the only thing I get Brendan's point defending his player, right? I get his talk about the fans being a bit negative and whatever, but we've just been gubbed 3-0 by the Huns, right? We're angry. We're no happy, right? It was the right message, but it was the wrong time to deliver it. I think would be my summation of it. I don't disagree with anything Brendan Rodgers said, but I disagree with how he said it, and most of all, I disagree with the timing of it because he needs to take account of the fact that fans were pissed off after last Thursday.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I was just screening through some of the comments here. People are doing the usual, talking about how they stream games and all that. But Andrew Galea here's, I'm glad Rogers stood up for Taylor. He's a bloody good Celtic player, given his best over multiple seasons.
Yeah,
What I saw about Taylor as well is he's 130 odd games for the club over 4 years. He's got 4 league titles, or however long he's been. He's had 4 league titles, 3 cups, or 5 cups, or something like that. So he's got like 9 trophies, one more than Tierney won at the club. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I just think Rogers was Rogers was in a bit of a mood, and I just hope he just couple of days to just chill, get to a press conference midweek, and things settle down. But let's see if the ego will allow him to, or if he's going to double down.
what I would say as well is just be prepared for every single question at the next presser to be provocative because the hacks in the Scottish media probably smell blood there and think if they push him, they're going to get the headline they so desperately want. So take every question that is put there with a critical eye.
And let's not forget, when he was at the club last time, what happened? For the last year he was there was always some sort of drama. There was always some sort of issue that something was popping up. And they're probably thinking, oh, if we start pushing him now that he's gone off on one of these tangents like that, what could happen? We could get him
Yeah.
out the door, help the establishment club. Let's be honest, that's what they're thinking.
Aye, aye, aye. I mean, we joked about it last week, about all the ridiculous stories that were going to come out to try and gaslight us into thinking this is still a legitimate rivalry.
Yeah.
Regardless of the result, it isn't. So yeah.
So what we'll do then, Liam, is I'm going to ask you what lessons will Celtic have learnt coming out of the last 2 games. I'll go first on that. I
Hmm.
think the things that we would have learnt is I think the balance in our midfield tends to work a lot better when you have if you have Engels and Kelmack, or Kelmack and Bernardo,
Mm.
you need to have someone else with them. So having what we had yesterday with Kelmack, Engels, and Luke, that works really well because they're all different, but they balance each other out. When you have Hatade, Bernardo, and Kelmack, I don't think that combo works as well. So, yeah, I think we've got to get our mid. The lesson that we've got to learn out of this is playing the ball forward, stop the horseshoe as much, and we also need to get that midfield balance sorted.
I think the biggest lesson is that we can't be complacent. No team is invincible, no matter how good we think we are. And that was it was a wake up call, a painful one, but it was hopefully an effective one. We need to strengthen. We need to try and push the players that we currently have to maintain the standards because that last week was not the standard we expect. You
Okay,
can
Liam.
lose the game, but I can't take the manner in which we lost it. So,
All right, Liam. Let's go hot take
mhm.
off those last 2 games. Give us a hot take based off that. Do you want a
Hot
thinking
take.
time?
Yeah,
Because I'll give you
you
one.
go first. Go on.
My hot take coming off that will be if in this transfer window a good bid comes in for Hatade, he's gone. I
Mm,
think he's the odd man out in the way Brendan wants his midfield to work.
mm.
So that's my hot take from those last two games. What are you thinking, Liam?
Yeah, my hot take is that there is no rivalry. Right? People are going to keep saying it's a rivalry, it's a derby, whatever. No. If we'd have lost that same game to Kilmarnock, St Mirren, whoever, people would just say it's a bad day at the office and moved on. It's only because it's the Huns, and it's only because they have an entire infrastructure of compliant goons in the media trying to push this idea that they are equal to us. You know, every even the fair-minded Rangers fans that I spoke to last week, it was like, oh, we're due a result against them, or oh, we've got to win one eventually, and oh, we are the people. Whatever. There was no rational basis that they would win that game because by every measurable metric, Celtic are on a different level. Scottish football is not Celtic and Rangers and the rest. It's Celtic and everybody else. That's the reality. And
It's
an occasional blip like last week is not going to change that.
it's three tiers now, Liam. It's no longer the old firm and then everyone else.
Yeah.
It's Celtic, then it's the next group, which is always Rangers, Aberdeen, and some other club that just randomly pops up in there. Last
Usually
year
Hearts. Yeah.
it was Hearts last year. Sometimes it's Motherwell, other times it's St Mirren did well a couple of seasons ago, and then it's everyone else.
Hmm. Aye. I
So
would. Yeah, I would agree with that.
yeah, going to be an interesting one. But I'm going to answer a question here from Pete McGee. So if Greg Taylor leaves, Via gets recalled by Barca, and Kieran Tierney comes in and gets injured early on, what then?
Better hope we don't sell Hatate because he can play left back.
Hey, that could actually work, I reckon. He's got the
Yeah.
whole pitch in front of him to pass into.
Hmm.
I look at it and go, I really like the look of Anderson, who's out on loan at Admira Wacker in Austria. I
Hmm.
like the fact that we've got Mitch Frame there as well, who can play left back. But that's not the overall solution. I think long term, what will happen, which will help us in Europe, I think he suits the way Rogers wants us to play. If we sign KT, he's on a free transfer from Aberdeen, get Jack McKenzie in. He counts as association trained, so that'll help us from that regard. But bring him in. He's good enough to start at left back for us domestically. In Europe, different story. And as Pete McGee's asking, I thought Hatade played right back. He has
He
played
played.
one game at right back. He's played
He,
one or two at left back. He's played a bunch in the midfield. He'll play everywhere. Isn't that right, Liam?
he's played both, but he had his best spell in the year that he was the MVP at Kawasaki when he was playing at left back. But he can play right back as well.
So, last thing, Liam, for the pod. We'll,
Mhm.
we can talk about the Dundee United game. We rattle through that quick anyway. But I just want to know, transfer window open. Will you expect to see any incomings or departures in the next 5 to 7 days? Apparently, Stephen Welsh is in Belgium at the moment to finalise his loan move to KV Mechelen. So
Mm.
he'll be out on loan next 6 months. But are you expecting anything? Because Bernard Bay's gone as well. Other than that, are you expecting any incomings or departures in the next week?
I think Luis Palma's probably on the way out. I think Yang is good out, but hopefully on loan because I still think there's a player in there. Um, and I wonder if we might just cut our losses with Kwon because I don't think he's getting anywhere near the first team if he comes back from Hibs at the end of the season. But I wonder if we might look to move him on. Um, Incomings, I think the Kieran Tierney deal will happen. Um, I think we will get another winger. I would love for it to be Jota, but I think maybe I'm being a bit too greedy there. But yeah, I think we will bring in a winger, and I think that the answer to the striker equation we talked about earlier is that Dyson becomes the number three, and we have someone else who can play left wing.
So I'm going to go on a little tangent here. Pete McGee is saying Ben Doak now being touted around for a transfer. Be careful what you wish for. Talk is they offered 15 million for him, turned it down, and they're wanting closer to 30. If you want Jota, we can't get him until the summer because he has to be out of it for a full financial year for HMRC.
Mm.
So because he went in a summer window, he can't come back until a summer window to make sure it's one whole calendar year. So it's spread over 2 seasons basically. So if we were to get him, you'd want to get him in July, June, July, whenever. But if Liverpool don't want to sell Doak but would loan him, I'd bring him in for 6 months. What's the worst that can happen? He
Yeah,
counts
I
for
mean, he would
Europe as
fill the
well as
same role.
homegrown.
Yeah. Has he played for Liverpool in the Champions League already, though? That would be my question.
I don't know because it's just popped up now. I've had no time to research or ask that. I'm just winging it.
uh, no, but that would be the issue. If he's cup tied, then there's no point signing him.
Here we go. Andrew Galea is saying, with loads of money, spend some. RL77, a winger and a press conference at the Brazen Head.
Oh, that
Yeah.
would do. That would do nicely. Right.
Pete McGee saying Sky reported the KT deal is in process. Yeah, he turned down a move to West Ham.
All right. Good.
Well, that's an interesting take. I hadn't thought of that. Can we get Jota and then put him on loan? So if we were to buy him and then loan him for 6 months to help him with the tax office and then bring him back, that could actually work.
Aye, because I think the rule is he can't be a UK resident
Yeah,
for duration.
that's
But aye, he
that's
could go and
why.
play in Belgium or Germany or something. Aye.
What's the guy who was at Liverpool and then went and then come back? The English guy who was their Liverpool captain, Jordan Henderson.
Jordan Henderson.
He
Aye.
went back to he went and played at Ajax for the exact same reason.
Yeah.
That's why he's there at the moment. So yeah, that could work. Yeah, it could be an interesting one. So watch this space, I suppose. But Liam, our next game is against Dundee United on Wednesday night, Thursday morning for us. So how you feeling heading into the match? Are you expecting much squad rotation?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I think we will see a bit of rotation in the midfield, perhaps. But I think the defence will be the same. Goalkeeper will obviously be the same. Might see Kyogo come back in. Um, but apart from that, no, I think it's pretty much as you were.
Yeah, for me, I'm the same thing. I thought the team we put out yesterday was pretty much our best lineup, with the exception of our striker. Like Ida, I think he needs to be a little bit more selfish. He's good at doing the link up play, but I'd like to see him get that. End of last season when he come on, he's like, all right, I've got to make it happen. And he just pegs shots from everywhere. I'd like
Mm,
to see him get back to that,
yeah, that's a confidence thing that comes with time.
get him some rhythm, get some confidence into him, and off we go. But yeah, that's the only change I'd be making. So starting lineup, I just said it there. The only one change I would have would be Kyogo in, and that's it. Ida out. You pretty much the same there, Liam.
Yeah, aye, yeah.
What's your score prediction then? I'm gonna go 3-0 again.
I'm going to go 2-0. I think it might be a wee bit of a stuffy game, but we'll get the win 2-0.
So I'm just looking at some comments here. RL77 is saying Engels, Bernardo, and Hatade would be my midfield. That'd be an
No
interesting one.
Calmac. Interesting.
Could be a good one there. 'Cause, well, we've got a few games coming up. And the Smell the Glove saying here, we're playing every 3 or 4 days, but so is everyone else. So Dundee United might be tired by now. So exploit it. Good
I
point.
mean, we've got a deeper squad than they have, so we should rotate. Yeah.
Yep. That's why it's a squad game.
Yes.
So what we'll do there, everyone, is thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you all being part of the pod again. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the Celtic Down Under channel on YouTube. Hit the like button. Helps us with the algorithm and all that sort of stuff. Also, tell a friend about the podcast. Tell them to jump on the Pot Noodle or Thursday Sesh or whatever and check it out. Appreciate it. Have a great week. Have a great week, and we'll go with final thoughts. So, Liam, over to you.
Well, if you'll indulge me, guys, I am just sharing in the chat now the link to my new YouTube channel. So please come and give us a follow. I am almost up to about 500 members already, but I'm trying to get to the 1,000, which means I can actually start making some money on this damn thing. So we play retro video games and just talk nonsense. So yeah, Tartan Samurai Gaming. Please give us a follow. And at the moment, I'm playing through some of the old Alien games from the 90s, which are quite good fun.
Nice. Well, my final thought. All I want to say is to anyone out there who is celebrating their Christmas tomorrow of the Orthodox calendar, have a great Christmas. Thanks
Oh, yeah.
everyone for tuning in, and hail, hail.
Hail, hail.